And we are live. Welcome, everybody, to a brand new episode of Crush This, the Monster Truck Podcast. My name is Bradshaw, also known as the Monster Truck Canucker, and I am going it alone. Well, going it alone. I don't have Cheech with me, but we have our guest, Ben Winslow, a.k.a. Bobo. He's on tonight with us. Just kind of give you guys a couple updates. The reason why Cheech isn't here, it's obviously dealership time for the Hall brothers. So they're out doing a bunch of different dealerships. The two different crews doing the dealerships. So Cheech should be back on in the next couple of weeks. I believe I'll be going it alone next week as well. I'm not too sure who our guest is that next week. Cheech will let me know. I actually finally got to go to a show this past weekend up in Dawson Creek, British Columbia, about an hour and a half from where I live. For the Monster Madness Edge Motorsports. It was awesome to be up there. Got to see the Como Motorsports guys. Got to see Perry Como, Pat Paquette, and then the Roughneck and Crew Behavior trucks of Jason Court and Jared Vogel, some good old Canadian trucks. It was an awesome time getting to work the show. Got to flag the races, help set up the track, two-show. And it was a two-show day, so those you don't have a lot of turnaround time. So we did our best, and it was an awesome show. Some comments here. John, hi, how are you? I'm doing good, John. I'm doing good. So, you guys, again, thank you for all the love and support on the merch. We got a couple new designs out here. So I'll show you a couple. This is the front of this shirt, and this shirt is called the Got Mud shirt. I love that design. And then we have what we call our Crush Guys shirt. So kind of a play on of Pet Boys. So the characters of me and Cheech. And then we have the old school shirt of the month. It takes 10 Chevys to beat one Ford, as said by Mike Wine back in the TNT days. So, guys, always, as also, we'd like to give a huge thank you to the people that support us: High Octane Coffee, J Concepts, 6B Apparel, Justin Stories, trying to remember it all. JB Scale Graphics, Bradshaw Designs. So let's get into it, guys. So we'll play our intro here, and then we'll get to it.
This isn't your typical motorsports podcast. You're listening to Crush This, a monster truck podcast presented by High Octane Coffee and J Concepts. A show where we take you inside the minds of your favorite drivers, past and present, of the monster truck industry. And now, your hosts, Bradshaw and Dan Chichagash. Buckle in. The show starts now.
And welcome to Crush This, everybody. My guest with me, none other than Bobo, Ben Winslow. Bobo, how you doing, man?
Man, that's pretty good. I've been riding a John Deere tractor all day and eating a lot of dirt, but got to get paid somehow.
Well, you've ate a lot of dirt in your career, in your history, but back then you weren't driving a John Deere. You're driving a 10,000-pound, 1,500 horsepower steel machine. So let's just get into it. How in the heck did you get into this crazy world that we call monster trucks?
Well, that's good. You want to talk about eating dirt. So before there was Bobo, there was the Bull Daddy. And many years ago, I had a little bad habit called rodeo. And yeah, so you're starting to make sense now?
Yeah. Okay. I know all about rodeos. I'm up northern Alberta, Canada. We love our rodeos.
All right. Well, I was went to college at NC State. As you can see, got a degree behind me back there on the wall. And I started trying to get on some bulls, riding some bulls. Had to quit doing that. I've traveled the wheat harvest circuit in the Midwest, Great Plains, going from Texas to Montana. That was a good time, and got to do a little bit of rodeoing. Got out of college, got a real job, and matter of fact, I was selling and applying fertilizer to this little guy named Randy Brown and Carl Staples. And a lot of people weighed them. I mean, I'm talking like 1996, 97, 98. Well, I ended up renting a house from Randy Brown and his cousins in Elizabeth City. And back that time, Randy had a pulling truck called the Thoroughbred. His dad had one called Sweet Thing. And I would follow Randy around to truck and tractor pulls. So let's fast forward 99. I go back to college, start rodeoing out in Oklahoma pretty good. Tried riding some bulls, and I was too fat to ride bulls. And a buddy of mine said, "Hey, why don't you start trying to be a clown?" And I was like, all right. So I got to be the funny man one time. And I was like, that's pretty cool, but I want a little bit more action. And I started bullfighting while I was in college at Northwestern Oklahoma State. So from, let's say 99, 2000 until 2003, I was rodeoing pretty hard. Been knocked out, was riding some or going to some pretty big events. Still at the same time, I'd see Randy Brown here and there, keep in touch with him. I think by 04, he was in a digger truck. Matter of fact, I know he was. He had digger number 18 and Pure Adrenaline. Frank Krimmel was driving for him, Chad Tingler, all that crowd. And I helped him in Wichita. Well, I ended up having to have my right shoulder put back on. Nice little scar. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh, wow.
Nice scar. Yeah. I put my right arm back on. And I called Randy Brown. I said, "Hey, Randy, I want to go try racing monster trucks." He's like, "Winslow, you don't want to do that. It's like getting in a car wreck every night." I said, "Randy, I've been fighting bulls. Try going 12 rounds with Mike Tyson." He's like, "You still got your CDL?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "Here's Mike Wells' phone number. Give him a call." Well, I called Mike Wells, and he said, who gave you my number? And I said, "Randy Brown did." He's like, "You got your CDL?" I said, "Yes, sir." I said, "I've been turning wrenches. This is what I do." And it took at that time, the politics and the changes that were going on with, at that time, it was Clear Channel, I believe.
Yeah.
When I got hired on, it was Clear Channel. And it took a little while. Well, I got hired on at the same time. Mark Cole and Robbie Haught got hired on at the same time. And there was this other kid. And so that was December 05. And so that is how I got into the monster truck business. And at first I was going to be Rod Smith's crew chief. And then things got changed around in the shop again. And they're like, "Nope, you're going with Eric Schweikart, Norm Miller, and George Bellhand." I'm like, "All right, whoever George is, let's do this, And after the first weekend, George was like, "Your name's Bobo. That's it." And it stuck. Well, then, throughout the course of first quarter, George gets on the mic, and I can't remember if it was like Anaheim, Spokane, somewhere. We're on the West Coast. And calls me Bobo on the microphone. Well, it stuck. And, man, there ain't no getting rid of it. My grandbabies right now call me Bobo. So now you know how everything happened. Big thanks to Randy Brown, Mike Wells, everybody for putting me out here. So
good old downtown Randy Brown. That I've gotten to see him drive a couple of times. Coming from a rodeo background into something that's completely opposite. Did you watch any monster trucks growing up? Were you aware of kind of what the monster truck industry was doing at the time, or were you complete like, this is foreign to me?
All right. If you look on your road map at Eastern North Carolina, I grew up in a little town called Plymouth. This is where my office is now for NC State. We're about an hour and a half from Nags Head. Okay. Right above Nag's Head is this little town called Kill Devil Hills.
Okay.
We used to skip school and go to Dennis's shop at the beach when it was in Kill Devil Hills. Go to Van's Pizza and eat lunch at Van's Pizza, which is still there. And I'd be back at home to work on the farm by 2 o'clock. So
you were around that old area. I didn't realize like how close you are to Digger's Dungeon and stuff like that. So
yeah,
because I know we've talked to some people and they're like, oh yeah, I kind of watched it, but like you were there like at the Digger's Dungeon, like you were around that, which is I think is pretty cool that you eventually made your way to working for Clear Channel Feld and
right.
your career. So, when you first got started, you obviously mentioned with George Belhan. How is that experience for you going out on the road? Because monster trucks isn't for everybody. And a lot of people don't understand that it's a grind, and then that's why I always give props to the crew guys, the drivers, the tech officials. It's a grind. How was your experience when you first started going out on the road?
Well, I was rodeoing every weekend. Had a Before monster trucks when I was rodeoing. I was rodeoing pretty hard. I'd do 3 to 4 rodeos in a 3-day weekend, and around Oklahoma, Kansas, Texas, and everything. So I was traveling. I had a little S10 pickup truck ZR2, and I was traveling. I was putting miles on that thing, staying in cheap ass hotels. I mean, washing my rodeo, get my bullfighting gear in a sink, in a bathtub, and hanging it out to dry so I could put it on the next day because it was so damn sour, because you're just sweating. There was times I was
Yeah.
fighting bulls at these events for 4 to 5 hours at a time. And so, it was a little getting used to, but it wasn't bad. I'd had my CDL. I'd been truck driving. I've hauled this and that and worked the wheat harvest. I've lived life like a gypsy since I was 18. So I'm thinking 1993
Oh wow.
when I graduated high school. Yeah, I'm old. I'm old.
So, who took you under their wing when you first got to the company? Because, there's a lot of people like I've heard, people taking Cheech under their wing or, a lot of these newer crew guys. Was there anybody that took you under their wing to kind of teach you kind of about monster trucks and kind of the inner workings of them?
Uh, I got thrown into the mix. I got thrown into where it was just a handful of guys at that digger shop there. Big shout out to Eric Swikart, Easy E, Chad Tingler, uh, Fletcher Lewis. Fletcher Lewis. I mean, he's about as back then he was as hardcore as they come, man. But Fletch, either he loved you or hated you. There won't no in between. Paul Cohen, Dan Bright. I'm gonna tell you what, Josh Garcia, he is the brains behind why we're jumping so high today. I don't know if you've met Josh.
No,
He's
I
a
haven't.
real quiet, real humble guy, hardcore, heavy metal, loves you or hates you, but he don't want to see you get hurt. Scooby Wales, Scooby Doo, man, awesome dude. He was with Chucky for so many World Finals trophies and events. Um, I don't know, man. That's just I met so many people, and it was just all clicked. Dustin Brown, love him or hate him, the guy's got a world of knowledge, and
Yeah.
to go from drag racing to monster trucks, him and Dennis really clicked for a long time.
Yeah, we had Dustin on a while ago, and we talked about his transition from doing NHRA top fuel stuff, moving over to the monster truck side. And you mentioned two guys there, Josh Garcia. Like you said, if it wasn't for him, these trucks wouldn't be as crazy and doing the big air as they are. And Paul Cohen,
Oh
that
yeah,
man has helped innovate the sport so much, even when he was driving to when he stepped out of the seat and started helping develop the trucks. There's so many people that other like fans don't realize how influential they have been to the sport. So you started going out on the road with George and talk about how the transition was to getting behind the seat. Because there's sometimes where a crew guy just stays a crew guy. There's a lot now where crew guys become drivers. How did that transition happen for you?
well, it's just like anything with Monster Jam or Feld or whatever they are now. They're going to take that little carrot and they're going to dangle it in front of you. And like, oh, looky, you stay here long enough, you'll be driving, and blah blah blah. After tire, wow, my third year with George, they gave me a crew guy that was bipolar, compulsive liar, and I just got tired of the drama, got burnt out, and right after Vegas that year, so that was 2006, 2008. I packed my bags, loaded up my toolbox, and left. And I went and lived in Europe for 5, 6 months that year. No, seriously, like I went and shacked up over in the Netherlands for a little while, and I started doing logistics for Monster
Okay.
Jam in Europe, and went back and forth, and I ended up staying over there till like November of that year. But I would do concerts. I'd move the trucks around. I don't know if you've met Trevor Stimson or Simpson. Uh,
I don't believe so.
he uh, he used to have Blown Thunder monster
Okay.
truck. Yeah,
Oh,
old Trev.
his son, Scott.
Yeah, that's it.
I've done. So, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now I get you.
Yeah. And so Trevor, they'd fly me over to the United Kingdom. I'd stay at Trevor's house. I'd go down to the port, get the trucks out of customs or back and forth, take them to Trevor's shop, swap them around out of containers into trailers because nobody else over there knows how to drive monster trucks. And I'd make a little cash here and there doing it and pack stuff up. And then I came back to the United States, but in the process of coming back, this guy from New Orleans named Sean Duhan said, "Hey, Bobo, what you doing?" I said, "I'm sitting in the Netherlands drinking Heineken." He's like, "Want to be my crew chief?" I said, "Let me call you when I get off this airplane." So when I flew back to North Carolina, before I even got home, I gave him a call, and he's like, "Hey, man, we got the sponsor, and wants to be my crew guy. How much you gonna charge?" And I gave him a price, and I said, "Well, But Brandon Lagarde flew me down to New Orleans, and there I went with the Colt Energy team. And about 3 months later, I was driving. So sudden impact.
Now that's pretty fast. And one quick cool thing is hearing you talk about logistics. I actually took a course at the end of last year, beginning of this year, learning supply chain stuff, logistics. So it's kind of cool to kind of hear stuff like that, and because not a lot of people really know a lot about logistics stuff and supply chains and all that. So you, how was your first? So did you get any testing time before they put you in an event? Like, what was your first experience driving a truck competitively like?
Oh boy, first time competitively. Well, at one time we all tested out in the field at the Gravedigger shop. And this was after I believe Bari had been driving all weekend. Candace Jolly had been driving all weekend or all week, and all these people had come out to test in the field. No, I think might have been. Well, me, Mark Cole, and two other people got in a truck. Well, I ended up breaking the rear differential, supposedly. But this is a week after no throttle rhythm people had been in monster trucks
Yeah.
at the time. So then it was kind of like, oh, you'll never be in a truck, blah, blah, blah. Well, Brandon Lagarde said, Bobo, you've got a name. And they just threw me in. I'd moved trucks around enough, been around them for 3-4 years. And they just threw me in, and here you go. And that's how it was. It was a checkered flag event at Belton, Texas for Ed Beckley. And that's an awesome place. And matter of fact, my last tour with Sam Sturgis, I was able to drive in that same house and drive Nasty Boy.
So at that time, the sudden impact team was getting a lot of traction. You mentioned Sean Duhan. I believe at the time John Zimmer was there.
That's right. Carl
They
Van
and
Horn.
yeah, CVH. That team was just one of those kind of independent mega teams at the time. Before that was really a thing. You look at what Zane Ratu was doing the last couple of years, Bill and Lorna Payne. Now you look at James Trantina with the Triple B team out of Minnesota. Those are, I kind of call those mega teams where it's more than one truck at a time. How is that having a guy like John Zimmer, who's a legend in this business at this point, Sean Duhan, CVH? How is it learning from those guys when you started driving?
There's a lot of knowledge there, and we had the opportunity to be creative. we'd talk with Tim Bush and Brandon, and we're like, hey, this is what we need. We need, these better orbitals. We need these better parts and transmissions. And Brandon just, he and Tim, they were like, yes, if we're going to compete, this is what we need to do. We need the best FK rod ends. And I'm going to tell you what, it was good. It was really good because, when we showed up, people expected a show.
Oh,
And to
yeah.
go to some of them smaller events, we were doing checkered flag, and we were doing a lot of stuff for Southern Monster Truck Showdown, all these places, and these little rodeo arenas. They expect to see the show. So, and that's what we had to do. You want to make every round, every performance, every show.
Like I remember getting to see, Sean run. I don't know if I got to see you run the times where the sudden impact trucks would come up here to Canada to where I live in Grand Prairie or Regina, but like every single time those trucks ran the hardest out of all of them. And it just showed like how much effort. You mentioned Brandon and Tim Bush, how much they put effort into that team to make it one of the top independents at the time. And then a lot of people know you from your time as well driving for Jimmy Cretin in the Iron Outlaw truck. Now talk about that transition, because you going from one awesome team to another amazing team with Jimmy Cretin. How is that experience kind of switching over to Jimmy Cretin's team?
The truck I had at the time with Sudden Impact, which I went from the old Executioner chassis to the old Pure Adrenaline chassis, which had a little setback engine to it. Night and day difference, completely night and day. And this was after Duhan left. And then when it was, I took a little time out between different teams. I came back home, picked corn with my brother, this and that. I had to clear my head. But to go get in that truck of Jimmy or Don Cretin's, which is a Scarlet Bandit, we put Bounty Hunter on that body for me. That was different. That was different. It was my first time in a butler seat or a self-contained seat. My Hans worked right. My safety gear worked right. When your safety gear works right and you're feeling good, you're going to drive completely different. And of course, Darren Miguez had set that truck up. Don had been driving it for a while. It was a beast. It was a beast, and it let me drive completely different. I mean, the engines. You're going from a 1,000 horsepower engine to an 1,800 horsepower engine. Man, I mean, there's just it's hard to compare. It really is.
Like I've gotten to be around some of Jimmy's trucks when Darren was running it, and also Matt Brokaw. He was with them at the time, and I got to work on some of the trucks and those things. Like the amount of horsepower that Jimmy can make from those engines is absolutely absurd, and just how his trucks are set up. Because like I've seen his new truck in action and some of the old trucks. Those things are slap wheelie machines. Like there used to be a saying that Kelvin Raymer, when he had his old truck, the Chevy SSR body truck, that he could slap wheelie inside a cardboard box. I think Jimmy, like any of Cretin's trucks, can do that. Like
Oh
there
yeah.
was just something about he had those trucks set up that can just slap wheelie and like with no effort. And talk about because Jimmy runs a different engine combination than a lot of the people. I believe he runs a Oldsmobile block, doesn't he?
Pontiac 575.
Pontiac.
No, 565 Pontiac's bored out.
Okay.
But when I was there, we had three, and then we had a 540 that was more of a high rev engine. And I like the high rev engine on occasion when it got into rotation, because for arena shows, like Charlie Parkin told me, you want to stay on the top half of your RPMs in an arena show. Now, a stadium show, you want to be able to roll into it. That way you don't tiptoe over and nosedive on your jumps. But those 565 Pontiacs bored out. I mean, rear Morrison heads. I mean, they're just freaking awesome. they're freaking awesome. I mean, you just can't say enough about that Cretan horsepower. And it's like Paul Strong said, there's little guys with white coats on top of Magic Mountains where those engines come from.
Well, especially if you have rear Morrison heads, because I'm a huge drag racing nerd, and the rear Morrison team was dominant in pro stock in the 80s and 90s. Anytime you put anything rear Morrison on an engine, you're going to make that horsepower.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, and just the way that Jimmy runs his team is top notch as well. He expects everybody to run hard, but also if it breaks, to put it back together. And it's just awesome to see. And how was it for you? Getting to run in some rodeo arenas, because you mentioned that earlier. You kind of felt at home at those shows, didn't you?
Well, here's a good example. Many years ago when I was driving Bounty, and I think Brokaw was in Iron Outlaw, we did a little event in Woodward, Oklahoma. Well, I used to rodeo in Woodward I used to do a junior rodeo there. And I think there was some other guys there, Brute Force and the Trash Master team, whatever they were out of Texas, Jerry Perry.
Yeah.
And the promoter came to me, I can't remember the promoter's name, and said, we're going to put Jerry out last. You're going next to last. We're going to put Jerry out last in freestyle. And I looked at the promoter. I said, you sure you want to do that? He's like, well, yeah, he's my guy and he runs a lot of shows for me. And I owe it to him, let him out last. I said, well, all right. That's what you want to do. But I'm just going to let you know, I used to rodeo in this arena. And needless to say, I drove the hood off Bounty Hunter, and Brokaw's back there shaking his head because he knows I'm just going to drive that sucker in the ground. And I just burned that sucker down out there, and I go get out of the truck, shake hands with all the kids on the front row, give them a high five, and get in the truck and drive off. And yeah, it was kind of hard to beat that one.
You're just like, you're gonna put them on last. Okay, let's just destroy.
I'm sorry.
and you met and Matt Brokaw. He's an awesome guy. I got to work with him a couple times, and there was one weekend he was up here Grand Prairie for, I think it was a Monster Truck Throwdown show, and I was helping out him and no, it was Chris Arell. It was a Chris Arell show. I was helping out him and Darren, and I don't know how many 4-link bars that guy went through in one weekend. I gave him
Brokaw or Darren?
Brokaw. and I, for some reason, I gave him the nickname Matt Broke All, because it seemed like no matter what, he would just break 4-link bars. So you drove for Jimmy Cretan for quite a while, and how did you make your way to end up driving for the Sturgis team? Because that's you're kind of, when you were with Sudden Impact, Louisiana. Cretans, you were in Kansas. How did you make your way to the Sturgis team?
All right. Well, what was it, 2013, I think, and first quarter, and I was burnt out. Jimmy at that time was booking his trucks 50 weekends, so I was doing on average 76 cities, not 76 shows, 76 cities in 50 weekends. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Bobo was tired, and I was done. Mentally, physically, trying to run the truck. Me and Darren going up and down the road. I was doing everything myself on my truck, and I was done. And I think me and Joe Sylvester were sitting at Steak and Shake up outside of Rosemont and hanging out. And might have been IHOP, I don't know, Denny's, something. And we were talking. He said, Bobo, I think I'm going to be in this Young Guns deal. And I said, yeah, I've asked Cretan if I could be in it, but he told me I've got to go someplace else and make money. I said, sure would like to go to Vegas one more time. He's like, if I'm going to go win this thing or compete, I need you turning wrenches. I said, all right. I said, let me think about this. I'll call you Monday. And when we got back to the shop that weekend after Rosemont, I walked in. I'd probably drank half a bottle of tequila, and I walked in the Cretan shop, And I said, I'm done. See you later.
Always that liquid courage, eh?
I was just that burnt to the point to where, just the late nights and the go, 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 and just, no, done. And so got my act together and went and met Joe. We did some shows, and I started working on his truck and getting stuff right. My back was pretty jacked up there for a while. I used to be 6'1". Now I'm like 5'10", 5'11". I've compressed everything from my neck, middle of my back to my neck. Yeah. So it took me a while to get that figured out. But long story short, me and Joe go to Vegas. And we show up at like 50-1 odds for the Young Guns. And I tuned that engine. I think I had it sitting at like 36 degrees timing. It was a Richard Midget built engine. So I knew what he had or what I could work with. And we checked spark plugs. And I just went through that truck. And we went out there and knocked them down one at a time, won the Young Guns. And on Joe's way back home, he dropped me off at a truck stop in Oklahoma. And I got my way back to Kansas, got my stuff, and came back home. And went to farming. I was farming and trucking, dealing with back injuries and things like that, spending time with family. Because when you're 50 weekends, 76 cities, I missed weddings, I missed funerals, I missed family gatherings, I missed birthdays. You don't make any of that. The only time I did come home for a wedding, I didn't get paid. I had to fly home from Phoenix, and somebody else drove Bounty for me when I was driving Bounty and swap around. So it is what it is. But I came home, and I was home for a while, and I was trucking, hauling grain, farming, just whatever, fishing, living life like a pirate. And somebody said, "Hey, Uncle Sam needs some help." So I called Uncle Sam, and I said, "Uncle Sam, what's scheduled like first quarter?" And what was this, 2015? So it was somewhere around there, 2014. And he said, "Bobo, I need some help." I said, "What do you say Bobo comes drive for you first quarter?" Man, he said, "Man, I'd love that." I said, "Well, let's get our act together and make this happen." And I work on getting a flight out to Phoenix or something, or to Tucson, and I did. And next thing you know, I'm driving Ronnie's old hauler, and we're hitting the trail. So, but he said the only deal was I had to do double duty. So every show that year, I drove Rat Attack and Nasty Boy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I'd get out of one truck, drive the other. I was doing 2 freestyles a night, 2 wheelie contests a night, 2 double racing. So yeah.
I gotta say one thing about the whole tequila thing. I'm surprised it wasn't Captain Morgan with how much you probably spent around Darren, though.
Well, see, hold on. I was drinking more Captain before Darren. I was drinking more Captain back in the days when me and Jeff Sin used to hang out at strip clubs. So,
oh, that guy, Jeff, that guy's a riot.
Man, he's a good deal. Hopefully I trained him right a little bit.
One of the first times ever meeting Darren, he had a handle of Crown or a Captain. I'm just like, because we don't get handles out here in Canada. And I'm
sorry.
Like, that is the most amount of Captain I've ever seen in my life.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing you never went to Mexico with us, because when we went down to Mexico to do shows, you just go up like the OXXO, and I'd grab a handle. Darren would grab a handle, and whoever else, we'd all had like 6 handles of Captain to go back to the room.
Oh, that just sounds like trouble.
Oh man, it's just sipping. Just a little sip.
So how was it driving for the Sturgis team? Obviously driving 2 completely opposite trucks. How was that? Because that would have been probably difficult at first to get used to either truck, but how did you adjust to it?
Yeah, it took a little while because Nasty Boy had a ratchet style transmission, so it had a 3-speed. It had a 3-speed turbo 400, I believe, and then Rat Attack had the Cohen transmission with a power glide. I think it was Cohen, or had the power glide in it. So it was 2 completely different trucks. I don't know. You just had to get them and drive. But I'm going to tell you what, Sam and Peggy, hands down. They treated me like family. They treated me like, you know, that's where I belonged. I didn't have to set the world on fire. I didn't have to do anything I didn't want to do. Ed Beckley that year, we did a lot with Ed Beckley, um, Sean Green, Iceman, they came out on tour, saw me a lot. Great guys. And, it was great because I could go out first in freestyle. I could go out third in freestyle. Who cares? I just wanted to make every round, every performance, every show. Did a lot of Make a Wish with Ed Beckley, Monster Wish programs. Got to do a lot for terminally ill children and bullying. And man, that was pretty awesome that last year.
Well, you mentioned Sean Green, which he's in chat here. Says, ask Bobo about apple juice.
Oh, we went out to have a little lunch one day, and he wants to drink this apple beer, and I'm like, dude, that's freaking apple juice, man. Come on. And so yeah.
I remember it was like that Bud Light Apple or whatever that came out at that time. It was like I drank it because I just can't stand the taste of beer. But now my tastes have changed as I'm getting older. So
you got to drink Canadian up there, right?
No, we got Budweiser. We got Canadian's the major one, but a lot of people like Budweiser. That's the big one. But
okay, but if you look at your Budweiser up there, it's not Anheuser-Busch Budweiser.
No, it's I believe it's Molson Coors.
It's Molson Budweiser, I believe, and it's totally different than Budweiser here. Trust me.
See, there's always this thing where it's like Canadian beer is better than American beer, and I've really never drank American beer. Like I've never really been to the States, as an adult, but I don't. Yeah, I'd rather stick to Crown Royal. That's my drink of choice.
That's nice. It's nice. I'll tell you what. Even Mexican beer. When we did a lot of shows down in Mexico and stuff, of course we had the Mexican beer sponsors. But the German, come to find out if you do your history, the Germans actually set up the breweries in Mexico, and they set them up around good wells or good water. So you could be driving through the middle of the town and see this big brewery, like where they do the Tecate Light, whatever. And that's where the good water was, the good well or whatever. And I mean, it's pretty good beer, When I lived in the Netherlands, I had fresh beer, fresh Heineken. Oh my God, nothing like it. Nothing like it.
So let's talk about the current state of monster trucks. As a lot of people know, World Finals is happening this upcoming weekend. They're doing a completely different track in Orlando. What, because you've been out of the seat for quite a couple of years now.
Yep.
What do you think with all the stoppies, moonwalks, all the two-wheel stuff? Like, when you were driving back then, did you expect this kind of stuff to be happening?
I saw Nick Owens in Oakland, California, because I drove Bounty that night many years ago. So I'm really telling my age there. God bless you, Nick Owens. Mm-hmm. And the way he got it, and he took Iron Outlaw and walked it across the tabletop and everything. And the crowd went nuts. And, it's like, we're not doing enough stuff like this. But we had to take it. It's either you're going to go higher, you're going to go further. Well, you're limited in these arenas. You're limited in these stadiums. And to see these guys come out and do these stoppies and whatever, something, man, that's cool because the kids like it. Mm-hmm. It's something different. You can only do so many donuts. You can only do so many slap wheelies, which I still love seeing a good slap wheelie.
Oh, yeah.
And it beats pogo in the truck. When you pogo a truck, man, you drive the back end of the ground, you hurt your back, you hurt the engine frame, transmission mounts. You're getting very little damage out of the trucks this way. The only thing you might be worried about is your engine and where your engine oil pressure is and whatnot. We've got to go somewhere different in the sport to keep people around, to keep people active and energized to it. And that's where it's at right now. And, it is what it is.
I made a post on my public Facebook profile about, what do you like seeing of moves? I'm with you 100%. A good old slap wheelie, that's my favorite, one of my favorite things.
It takes skill, man. It takes skill.
like slap wheelies for me, and a lot of people were saying power wheelies, but you have to make you rarely see power wheelies anymore. Back in the early 2000s, you've seen Jimmy doing them. Scott Hardsock, a lot of like, even Dennis when he had Digger 7 back out in
Oh
2000,
yeah.
he was that Atlanta freestyle to this day still is one of my top like probably 5 freestyles. But you just don't see a good old slap wheelie anymore. You don't see a good old sky wheelie. Every now and then you'll see one,
Yeah.
like what Mike Vauders did in the TNT Unfinished Business. He stood that thing up vertical. And don't get me wrong, I love the stoppies, the nose wheelies, and everything, but I prefer the older stuff in a way. And it's crazy to see, even with what Ryan Anderson did at MetLife Stadium in the 2-wheel skills, that bicycle where he rode the sidewalls like for like I don't even know how long. Like it's insane how the sport has progressed. And who knows where it's going to go from here.
Well, there's no telling. But when you talk about that, we've gone to more of a mid-engine truck. These trucks that were going out and doing these power wheelies, they were set up for it. Okay, the engines were further back in some of them. You look at the original Kelvin Raymer's truck with that SSR body. That engine was sitting on top of the back axle. Those trucks were not good racing trucks, so to say, because there wasn't enough weight on the front end. Now, the Cretan's truck that he's driving now, I remember when he freshly built that thing from Patrick and before all these modifications, I could go out to some shows and hit that sucker just right on a rock and slap wheelie that thing and just walk it, just like slow motion, and
Oh
it was
yeah.
pretty cool. I think I did it at Texas Motor Speedway one year. Jimmy's like, "Oh yeah, Bobo, you're taking my truck this weekend." I'm like, "Huh? Jimmy, you lost it? You okay, buddy?" Hold on. Bobo, Bobo, I want you to win. Just don't tear it up, Bobo.
That's the best Jimmy Green impression I've ever heard in my life.
Bobo, what are you doing over there, Bobo? Don't tear up my trucks. So
God.
now I gotta love him. I'm gonna tell you what, even though I'm kind of out of the loop, and I still I drove for Jimmy Bounty Hunter. It's the last truck I drove. 2018. 2018, after my knee surgery, I came back and drove one more time for Jimmy Cretan in a little show in Shelby, North Carolina. It was nice to get back in the truck. Don't get me wrong. But I enjoy cooking. Jimmy will call me and say, "Hey, Bobo, I got a show near you. Come do a shrimp boil." So I'll load up about 50 pounds of shrimp. I'll go do a shrimp boil. And whatnot. I'll hang out. I do track work. I build shows. I'm behind the scenes. Don't need to be up front no more. Let somebody else have it. But it's I'm still around. Still around.
Yeah, and that's good to know, because there's a lot of people when they're done with monster trucks, they're done. Look at Greg Holbrook, only drove mainly one season back in the TNT days, disappeared for over 30 years, and then came back at the Unfinished Business to drive Equalizer again and won.
Right. That was awesome.
Oh, yeah. That stuff like that, like, I think monster trucks are thriving more than ever because you look at what Jimmy's doing with his own shows, putting on amazing shows. You have Xaner 2 and the Renegade Tour, what Ed Beckley's doing, the monster trucks with the Z, what Feld's doing. Like, there's so much monster truck action, like Throwdown. There's so many events that are going on. I have a gripe with monster trucks in Canada. It's just we don't get enough action up here. I would go on for hours about that at this point because it's very frustrating for being a Canadian fan.
I'm sorry.
But it happens. It's
know.
Canada. It's Canada. But it's awesome to see how the sport is doing right now. Because 2020, it was unknown. With the whole world, with what happened, everything got canceled. Feld started kind of doing a little bit of stuff, and then a lot of these people, because from what I remember, Feld only had a select few that came back to do the tour that they were doing. So Jimmy started his own thing, Zane started his own thing, and now look, they're thriving.
Oh yeah,
it's an exciting time to be a fan of the sport.
Oh yeah, it's pretty awesome. There's a few around here. Not so much, but there's a few shows. You got to give it to Joe Sylvester, what he tried doing or what he
Yep.
did, putting the shows together and broadcasting it. Um, Joe's pretty sharp on things. I'm going to tell you
Oh, he
what,
is.
he's my brother. He is a marketing man. I'm going to tell you what,
Whoa.
he is a machine. He is a machine. I drink high octane coffee in the morning. I've got my subscription. Rock on, brother. Drink that high octane. And Jimmy too. Jimmy's like, why am I making these people all this money when I can be doing it myself? And
Oh,
trust
yeah.
me, he's got a whole team of people. He's had me go to South Carolina and help. I've helped in Kinston, North Carolina. I've helped all over when he does shows around here. I've helped Ron Woodbridge, who works with Chicken. I don't know. We call him Chicken. Michael Harper.
Oh, yeah.
Do shows. But and also in the last few years or before COVID, I helped Dennis at the Mud Pit. I helped run the back half of the show and inspect trucks, do that kind of stuff. Till we had a little accident, but yeah, now I walk with a limp, but we're good.
Well, you mentioned Joey with his outlaw monster truck drags, and one cool thing, myself and a lot of other people like Cheech come from the virtual monster truck racing kind of thing, like the rigs of rods and
Right.
all the games. And for Joey to put on events under the outlaw drags and broadcast it, I got to race in an event, Cheech got to race in an event as well. That gave us fans a chance to kind of, in a way, live a dream for doing a show, like a professional style show. And even just him giving guys like Colton Kaiser a chance in the American Scout truck to bring his truck to do, when he had his Mini to do some racing. And then this upcoming season, Colton's going to be racing his full size truck, which it's cool, to see that truck, after it was on my computer and the whole design process, to see that, him running, and just all these young guys. You got, John Zimmer Jr. absolutely killing it in Monster Jam.
All right. Talking about Zimmer Jr. I remember when he used to go spend the summer with his dads, and we'd be up at the shop in Michigan, and we have some shows together, like I don't know, the fair shows and this and that, when they would book all 4 sudden impact trucks. And I remember Zimmer Jr., and I'll be honest, CP3 also, Charlie Palkin, or Little Charlie. Those guys were hands with RC cars, just like Ryan was many years ago. Because I used to go race RC cars at Dennis's and stuff.
Yeah.
They were hands. And I'm going to tell you what, John Zimmer Jr., he's eaten, breathed, lived it. There's no way he could not be good at it. Okay. There's no way he could not be good at it. Just like Zane's boy, son, CJ. I remember when he was on a skid steer loader with his dad, building shows when he was with Beckley many years ago. Charlie Palkin Jr., little Chucky. That boy has got to be good at it. I'm going to tell you what, Teeny Man Anderson, Teeny Man, yeah, he's got to be Rookie of the Year. But I'm going to tell you what, when I used to go do the mud shows with, for Dennis over there a couple years ago, class act guy. Hey, Bobo, how you doing, man? What you up to? You got any guns you want to trade, or what you got, man? And just, I call him Handsome Dan. You remember seeing Handsome Dan? You remember that? I can't remember that TV movie.
I can't remember, but
there's a movie, and might have been on. Golly, I can remember, but
let me search it up here.
Yeah, Handsome Dan is on a movie, but I call him Teeny Man Handsome Dan.
Trying to search it up here, but no, Wayne's World 2.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah.
That he the stuff that he did this year, it is because over the last couple of years he's been driving Bog Hog, basically the exact same kind of motor, but smaller and more nimble. But that one move, I don't know what event it was, that one move that he did where it was almost like a barrel roll somehow. Are you kidding me? This next generation coming up is, you mentioned CJ, which that he's debuting a new Stinger body this weekend.
I saw that. Nice job.
I love how that thing turned out.
Yeah.
It was kind of on just me trying to learn Illustrator, and Sam was like, let's do it. You mentioned CP3. He's got his little like quad kind of thing that he's been messing around with the last couple of years. Zach Garner, that's another
Oh yeah,
talented driver.
awesome.
Like it's awesome to see the next generation, and how amazing that they're doing, and they had the best to learn from. Like if you look at that honestly, like CJ's had Zane, teaching him this everything. Zimmer Jr., his dad, legend in the sport.
Yep.
Charlie Pocket, like it's the sport is in safe hands, and like even with Zimmer Jr., like he would do the virtual online racing with myself and a lot of others. He's stupid good at that too. Like it's insane how well these guys are doing, and it's going to be amazing to see what they're going to accomplish. Like Weston in the World Finals, like it's to be able to see him on a big track for the first time, because he's been cooped up in arenas all year. To see him in a stadium, it's going to be a different experience. I feel like he's going to do something.
If you go look at the mud pit and the mud track at Dennis Anderson's Muddy Motorsports Park, I mean, they're running 600 foot one way and turn around and running 600 foot back the other. That's bigger than any football field. So if you really look at it, some of these mud bogs and stuff he's been doing for the last 5 years are twice the size of anything at a daggone Monster Jam. So I'm going to tell you what, be ready for him. I'm going to tell you what, I don't think you're ready. I don't think people are still grasping the potential of that young man and what he knows and does, but like, he came from one of the greatest. So how can he not be good?
Oh yeah. Look at that whole family. Like Kristen absolutely killed it this year.
Yeah.
You got Adam, who's been doing it for, I don't even know how long now. And then you got Ryan just doing things that you wouldn't even think is possible, but all of a sudden, here he is again. Like it doesn't make sense, like how these guys can just do what they're doing. As a fan of the sport for probably well over 30 years, it boggles my mind still to this day. I'm like, no, it's like a video game now.
Well, the number one thing, everybody in that family stays humble.
Yes.
If you go by the diner, you might see Kristen waiting tables. You might see Teeny Man chasing the farm animals around the yard. You got Ryan doing God knows what, but he's around and just, hey man, what's going on? You want to come back here and see the trucks? Just grabbing people, And you got Adam working the ride trucks, man. They're humble people when they come back home, and they're just like anybody else.
And I think that's what we need more of in the sport, is people that are more humble and wanting to help the next generation, which I think, people are doing that now. Like one team that has taken me in with open arms whenever I've gotten to work with them is the Straight Up Racing Crew with Bill and Lorna Payne. That's one team.
He's crazy.
He's insane.
He's crazy.
He's insane. But whenever I've got to work a show with them, I'm like another extended member of the family. Like even like a lot of the Throwdown crew, like Elliot Miller and them, like whenever they come to Edmonton, I'm always there if they need me to help or go to watch. Like that's one thing that I feel like in monster trucks is so important, is the camaraderie. Because it's not on one person's shoulders to run an event. It's on everybody. Everybody helps each other out. Everybody works together to put on a great event. Like the event I just did this weekend, we hardly had any turnaround time between the first and second show. Everybody helped chip in if they weren't working on their trucks.
That's right. That's what it's all about. And, it takes a lot of people to make a show run. When I was working with Sam Sturgis and we did some shows and you don't want to see a show fail, because then sometimes promoters don't want to pay. And you're stuck out there and you just drove your butt off, and you're not taking home a paycheck. And in turn, I'm not taking home a paycheck. And it's hard to buy a $30,000 engine. Well, there's no such thing as a $30,000 engine no more.
No.
The prices have all gone through the roof. Everything's stupid. Transmission parts are stupid, you know, and it costs money. Diesel fuel right now, we're looking at $5-6 diesel fuel. You know, uh, we got to have diesel fuel to get back home, the next show, whatever. I mean, we're going to turn around and turn into lot lizards at the Petro. I mean, come on now. But but yeah, it takes everybody to make it work. Whether it's the displays, the morning media, you know, working on trucks, wrenching, whatever. It takes everybody. You're right.
So, what are you up to these days? What's Bobo doing these days? And you mentioned that you're at the college in North Carolina, and I believe it's NC State University. I believe.
Yeah, I 2015. I'll just break it down like this. I was supposed to get back on the airplane to go back to work for Sam Sturgis. I had come back home. The young lady I was seeing at the time hadn't been staying at the house, hadn't been paying the bills that I'd been sending money home for. I ended up blowing my knee out, and about 3 weeks later, I went and applied for a job at NC State University, not on the main campus, but at a research facility, and got that job. So, and my joke is I tripped and fell and blew my knee out and got a state job. So I do ag research. I work under a research doctor, but I build, weld, fabricate, run equipment. And I enjoy it, really do. I got retirement. I've got insurance. I've got benefits. I've got my knee fixed. I can had knee surgery, got my knee fixed. I don't walk. Everybody used to joke with me, especially back to the sudden impact days, because after a long day, my left knee would give out, and I had this gangster limp. No more gangster limp. No more gangster. Oh. We're straight now.
Bobo's not no gangster now.
No more gangster. Got me a Harley. I'm on Harley number 2 now. Got me a nice ultra classic. You can see it on my Facebook page with my dog. And I've got a solid, steady relationship. And, with monster trucks, it's hard to have that solid, steady relationship with a good, honest woman. And I'm engaged finally. Never been married yet, but we're working on it. You see, a bucking horse got that finger, so it's hard to put a ring on it. But yeah, it's I enjoy watching a few videos. Golly, what's that other digger drive? Tyler
Menninga.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you what. He's pretty good for a ride truck driver, ain't he? You know about that whole story, right?
Kind of, sort of.
Well, he ended up at the digger shop, and he was running the ride truck for Adam out there. So when he wasn't at a Monster Jam show, he'd be driving the ride truck. And I stop by there once in a while, and I look at him and go, "Hey, man, pretty good for a ride truck driver, huh?" So if you go back and look, if I make a comment on this thing, I might say, "Hey, man, pretty good for a ride truck driver."
You mentioned one thing there, and I kind of feel very similar about it. Is you mentioned, getting into a good relationship, a good, solid, healthy relationship, and that's the same for me. That for myself, just speaking, just me, like that has helped me the biggest.
Oh yeah.
Even though I wasn't like you and on the road, but like having a good, solid, healthy relationship and somebody who's there for you and supports you, it's one of the greatest things that I could have ever asked for. And I've almost been a year with my girlfriend, and it's my saving grace, literally. And that's a huge thing, and it's awesome to hear somebody else say that, because it's hard to find good relationships these days, because everybody just wants, I'll admit, it's all about a hookup culture. And, it's nice to find somebody to settle down with. It's a godsend.
Well, in the monster truck industry, you have people that come along and use you because of the lifestyle you live, the contacts you have, being in the limelight. And sometimes once you cut that limelight off and decide you want to go back to being a normal person, and the other person you're with is like, "Well, what about this? Aren't we going on the road? And aren't we going to travel?" And I'm like, "Nah, I'm done." And and they want to go party and live that lime life, and it's kind of like, it ain't gonna last forever with monster trucks.
No.
and there's only a few people now that say, there's two things that can get you divorced in monster trucks. And that's a monster truck and life on the road. And like I said, it's hard. Dennis has finally found the right one. Tom's finally found the right one. I was at my brother Joe Sylvester's wedding. It was awesome to see him with the right one. Darren's had an awesome woman stand by him, Jimmy and Dawn. And like Bill and Lorena, for them, they've got to stay on the road. They're on the road together and they make it work. And that's pretty awesome. Dawn's back on the road a lot. Mike Phelps and Sheila, I'm going to tell you what, that's a good family right there, and he's running that, golly, what's the name of that truck?
Renegade.
Monster Patrol.
Yeah, he's running with the Renegade crew right now.
Yeah. And I mean, he's awesome. And him and Mike and Clint, can't say enough good things about Clint. He's my brother. Man, ain't seen him in a long time. And it takes, you see it can be tough. It can be tough. Life on the road will eat you up, buddy.
Now, big question here for you. Big question here for you as we're starting to wind down here. Would you ever want to get back in the seat?
I could fill in maybe here and there. But I tell you what, Bobo makes an awesome crew chief. The program I'm in now, I told the research doctor I work under, I said, Dr. Heiniger, I said, I'll be the best crew chief you ever had. I don't need to be number one. I've been there. I've been to the top. I've been a Canadian national champ, Mexican champ. At one time, the Monster Blog had me ranked number 4 in a number of wins, and I think 2011, 2012. Jimmy Cretin, it was Tom Mintz, Jimmy, Dennis, then me. And I was like, wow. That was something. But 50 weekends, 76 cities. And it'll eat you up. And, I enjoy seeing this younger crowd. My back doesn't hurt like it used to. I've still got some headaches between the monster trucks and the bulls. I've messed up my head pretty good. Got a little issue called CTE. Not sure if people are familiar with it. But got some good doctors with me, good team. I'm at a safe spot in my life. My Harley is my peace. And family. I don't know. Might want to see a mud truck somewhere. Might fill in for a small show, but like I said, Bobo can be one hell of a crew chief. Just ask Joe Sylvester.
Well, no matter if it's a crew chief or you're filling in, it'd be good to see you back out there, man. I know the business misses you. I know watching you on the Monster Blog, you're one of my favorites to always watch. There's one episode, I forget where it was. You guys were in a rodeo arena and
that was Zane, Arkansas. Arkansas.
Zane made you do like a fast talking intro for the video, and I always thought that was so cool.
Oh Lord, here we go, roundy round, upside down. Where are you gonna go? No, I don't know, but everybody ends up in Bobo land.
So anything you want to part to the younger generation coming up in the sport, just share the wisdom of Bobo.
Turn wrenches. I've been turning wrenches, farming and driving big equipment since I was 14, 15. I started driving big trucks on the road when I was 14. I know that's not legal, but I made it happen. Big farm equipment, like I said, turning wrenches. Tear the lawnmower apart, put it back together. Just turn wrenches, figure things out. Stay true to yourself, and be a good friend. You never don't burn too many bridges unless you can build that son of a gun back.
Yeah.
You never know where you're going to be in life. I met a guy many years ago in Norfolk. Name is Diamond Dallas Page. Sir, DDP took the time and we drank a Coors Light together. And he taught me something to live by and be humble. I can't quite repeat it on air because I don't know the age group of the show here. But he taught me something about being humble and just a good dude. And I stuck by it and I lived by it. And I tried to treat everybody like somebody, but practice. I had a little kid come up to me when I was driving Bounty Hunter. think I was in Sheridan, Wyoming, and a little kid came up and said, "Mister, you sure were good out there." And I said, "Buddy, what do you want to be when you grow up?" He said, "I want to be a baseball player." I said, "Bud, you need to sleep with that baseball every night. You need to sleep with that glove. You need to play baseball every day, 3 times a day." I said, "Because when I'm not racing this monster truck, I'm working on this monster truck. I'm thinking about this monster truck. I'm living this monster truck. I'm hauling this monster truck, and I'm doing everything all the time." I said, "So if you want to be good at something, you need to do it every day. You can't just practice once a week, twice a week. You got to live that baseball." And I said, "Young man, you'll be good at it, but you got to live it to be good at it."
I completely 100% agree. And I relay that to my graphic design. You
You got to
know,
do it every day, don't you?
oh yeah, I do it even just if I don't have any projects I'm working on, I'm in Photoshop or Illustrator coming up with new designs and learning. Like I never went to school for what I do. And
That's
to
awesome.
sit here and have multiple trucks with my design on it and more to come, it boggles my mind, just for myself being a 31-year-old guy in northern Alberta, Canada. I get to live part of my dream. And I remember one incident in specific. I was doing a show this past weekend, and I was working with Straight Up team, and I was helping with the ride truck, and I was helping people up and down the ladder, and seeing all those smiling faces come back off of like the little kids that reminded me of when I was their age, and
Yeah.
being completely obsessed with monster trucks. And like this past week, I got to go to my girlfriend's school and do a presentation to a couple classes about monster trucks, design, and just living your dream. And it put me back in their shoes, and DDP, you mentioned Diamond Dallas Page. That dude's inspirational. I've done his DDP yoga program before, and I'm hoping to do it soon again. And that dude just can motivate anybody. Even if
He's
you
awesome.
are,
He's
even
awesome.
if you're the pit of misery, that dude will drag you out of there and slap you silly and get you going again.
Yeah, he was a cool dude. And this was back around '97 when I met him. So that was the Nitro days.
He was fully in.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Lex Luger, I met him too, but he was never mind. No comment there.
So
I hate to say karma took care of that one, but
oh man, any social media that people can find you on?
I just do my little Facebook thing and just stay hidden. I don't really add anybody that I don't know. I mean, I stumbled across you today and I checked your page and I'm like, oh, he's made some cool stuff. I'll add that guy.
Thank you. That means a lot to me, man.
But I don't really add people unless you send me a message and say, "Hey, Bobo, I remember you from this show," or blah blah blah. I just don't. I think I've got 570, 590 unanswered friends requests on Facebook. Send me a message. "Hey, Bobo, what's up, man? I saw you at the show. Thought you were pretty cool, Hey, Bobo, I saw you at the show. You were a dumbass. Don't know why you had to be mean to that little kid and eat his popcorn, Well, see, that was the thing. I don't know if you remember when I drove Red Baron. I wore the mask and everything. I was the first person to wear the mask because I was the first Red Baron driver for Chris Sorrell and Jimmy Cretin. And when you go to French Canada or, Quebec, Canada, and you're speaking English and all these little kids running around speaking French, and all I'd do is I'd mumble something, no, and I'd take their popcorn and eat it, and I had my mask. I'd take their popcorn and throw it back at them. And
you went total pro wrestling on them.
Oh, well, not just that, I was just like the butthead that you would turn around and love at the end of the night because I was a Canadian champion,
But no, that is awesome. And just before I go, guys, I just always want to mention, no matter what, check up on your friends and family, guys. Mental health is huge. Mental health is very important. May is actually Mental Health Awareness Month. A lot of you guys know my story with my mental health journey to get back to where I'm at now. But guys, just no matter what, check up on your friends and family. If they're struggling, if they're going through stuff, please message them. Say, hey, you're not alone. Talk with me. You can message myself. I will talk to anybody if they're going through stuff. Like your guys' life is more important than anything else. So, guys, just make sure you're checking up on your friends and family. That is number one priority, guys.
Hey, amen, amen. I lost a good friend many years ago, and it put me into a deep dive for many years. Took me a long time to pull myself out. Jason Forbes from Elizabeth City. Lost a few more since then. Little Thompson. Man, I'm gonna tell you what, he was a good dude, hard-working dude. But look after your friends. I'm gonna tell you what, you never know. You never know what somebody's going through or dealing with. One other thing to throw out, since I got enough wrecks in my day driving monster trucks, I'm a first responder now. I'm on 2 fire departments, which I missed one training tonight for this podcast. So I hope somebody learned something. So life after monster trucks, Bobo's a firefighter. And I run sometimes 100, 150 calls a year, 2 different departments. And I'm going to tell you what, it's awesome to be able to give back to your community. And it's been able to help me help other people and keep my mind straight. And yeah, brother, if you need anything, I think I sent you my phone number. You know how to find me.
Yeah, I sent you a friend request, so we'll do that. I also want to mention my cousin in Nova Scotia is a firefighter, and I got some friends that are firefighters. So thank you for your service. Thank you for being a first responder. You guys are brave for what you guys do.
You know, I think, nobody's talked about Lindsay Wink in a long time. I think Lindsay's a full-time firefighter in California.
Yeah, another Alberta, Saskatchewan boy there.
Yeah, another Canadian, eh?
Yeah, another Canadian, eh? Well, Bobo, thank you for coming on the podcast. It was awesome to talk with you, and hopefully we'll do it again with you, me, and Cheech. It'd be good to get Cheech in on here and just shoot the breeze again, man. Talk about all the good old times again.
Hey, let's do it in the middle of winter next time, so I'm not all dirty and nasty, and I can sit down and have a Captain Morgan or something.
Oh, let's do it, man. Guys, next week, Cheech will let you guys know who our guest is for next week. It'll be myself and the guest. Like I said, Cheech is busy doing all the Ram dealers. So if you're in the area where Cheech is, or Mike Nugent or Kurt Kramer or any of those guys, go check them out. Go support. Also, let's just say there's going to be a truck coming soon that's going to be running a Crush This flag. So keep your guys' eyes peeled. So we're working on that right now. And guys, as always, thank you, Bobo. And guys, also check out our merch. Merch link is on our Facebook page. We upload some new designs. And yeah, until next time, guys, keep the rubber side down and the shiny side up, everybody. Peace. And broadcast.